Man, we have an awesome topic because I know, like, flat out, even you coming in and working at Garrett, when you first started working at Garrett, Steve's dad, and talking about pricing. And there's a lot of guys out there that just price their products on a feel good. They look at maybe like the cost of something and be like, "Oh, this I got $10 into this, so I can charge 15. I'll make $5, and everything's good." Tell me why that's a jackass way to do things.
Well, number one, you have to know all your back end costs. Like, for instance, I hear that post we just did, they were talking about how I don't let people bring their own parts. Okay. And they're sitting there saying, oh, all your profit is in your labor. If you price your labor right, you're good. You don't have to worry about the parts. I don't mark up my parts. Several of them said they don't even mark up their parts, or they do MSRP because they can make 20% on parts. Well, if you run a shop and you know your numbers, depending on what types of jobs you do. Now, no matter how I say this, some asswipe's going to have an opinion about what against what I'm saying. But if you do a bunch of engines one month, your parts markup is going to be lower than your labor. Like, so what I'm saying is, if you do on a general month in my shops, my labor and my parts are about $10,000 a part. That's usually about, it's almost tit for tat. Okay, unless you're doing like engines, and obviously your parts markup is going to go down, but your parts number is going to go up. You know what I mean? Because you're $20,000, $30,000 diesel engines a lot of the time. So a lot of these guys saying, "Oh, I just literally make my money, my profit on my labor," is bullshit. Now, if you're a one guy and you work out of your garage and you have no overhead because you make your house payment, your garage is there, you can make good money marking up your labor and selling people parts at cost. Good for you. I'm not in that business. Okay. I'm in a business where I run a commercial operation. I have four guys. Okay. I have service writers. I have me to pay. My wife works there sometimes. So we pay her. We have insurance. We have a bunch of overhead, right? So we figure all that into our profit calculator, right? Here's one that's missed a lot. What is your guy's costs? A lot of guys don't look into a loaded cost on a guy. All right. For instance, what you pay on their medical insurance as a shop, what you contribute, their retirement program, what you contribute, uh, dental, optical, and medical. I said that already, but that we contribute to that, right? Taxes. Okay, all that. I do basically a rough calculation, 1.25 on the taxes. I figure out me and my wife sat down. We figured out exactly how much we have into one guy. At that point, you could set your labor rate. You can't look at it and go, "Hey, I pay Bob $20 an hour, so my labor cost on Bob is $20 an hour." There's such a thing called loaded cost. Okay, and the thing I keep seeing over and over again on TikTok, there's great mechanics. You listen to these guys, their talk, they know their shit, no doubt about it. Just because you're a good mechanic doesn't mean you're a good businessman. Okay. I started out as a mechanic and I had my head up my ass when I started running the business. But we went to management success. We learned, we were taught, and that's how we price stuff. Okay. So my profit calculators, my service advisors, they have a certain target to hit on a job. And they have an actual sheet that we've written out where these margins have to be on an engine job. Obviously, you're not going to try to make the same markup as at a brake job, right? But we know our costs. What happens when you have good costs? You make money, your profit goes up, right? They're saying a good repair shop, after everything's done, the owner should be able to take 20% out of a good repair shop, is what the rule of thumb was. Okay. Well, I've looked into these shops, buying more shops, and there's one right by me that was going to sell. So I say to the guy, we go back and forth, we're talking about his price and this and that. And I said, "Well, how much do you make?" Well, he made $80,000 a year out of his shop. And I'm like, "Okay, you have two guys and, four bays. I mean, okay, that makes you happy. Great." I said, "Well, how much does your wife make?" "Well, she doesn't make nothing." "Does your wife work with you?" "Well, she works here full time. She does all the write ups." I said, "So, okay, so you make 40 and she makes 40." I
Yeah.
said, "So what do you net?" "Well, I don't even really know what net means." Okay. And I run into that quite a bit where these guys don't know their costs. And let me tell you something here. I'm not some wonderful guy that just all of a sudden woke up one day and sitting there talking shit on TikTok about making money, okay, or margins and stuff like that. It was a long, hard road to get my P&L sheet set up right, so I understood what was going on, where the trends were going, how much money what percentage. Most people don't even know what percentage of your income should be your payroll. A lot of things go on in a shop. I'm going to do a video. I'll tell you one of the biggest holes that get people forget about in a shop is returns and cores. Okay, people literally forget about that stuff. So when I got my new shop management program, the one thing I look for, I want to be able to send payment links, deposit requests, and stuff like that. But the other thing I wanted to do, I wanted to be able to track my cores and returns. I set that program up. The first month was chaos, right? When anytime you change a shop management program, you have to figure out all the workarounds because the computer program's lacking,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
This one, I went from Mitchell and I went to Shopwares. Now, Mitchell was a very robust program, and in its day, it was great, but it's antiquated now. So I moved over to Shopwares, and they actually have a tracking feature on returns. So after our first month, we got all Shopwares working and stuff like that. The second month, we implemented returns and cores. Do you realize once I got it all in there and got it all working, how we figured out, we caught, not on purpose, I don't think, we caught $900 worth of cores and returns that we didn't get credit for. So that prompted me to set up a whole cores and returns process. So how did I do that? What I do when a core comes in, it gets put into inventory. So it shows I have that core in inventory, right? And it puts it pink in Shopwares. And I can do a scrap. I'll give you a screenshot to put in the video. So then when the shop, say calipers show up, my service advisors print a core return ticket. We tape it to the box. When they're done, we print 3 copies of the same thing we tape to the box. We put one on the box, we have one on a clipboard, and we make the driver who picks up the core sign it and date it. Because sometimes cores get lost. So at the end of the month, before one of the stipulations on my service advisors bonus, when they hit their numbers, there can't be outstanding cores and returns. Now, if it's the last day of the month and there's a guy that's 2 hours away, they obviously can't get that return there to them, right? But what I've plugged a huge hole on the returns and cores. I've caught several. I think Marilyn just said the other day she caught $1,000 worth of returns that weren't returns and cores that weren't given. And what I realize is some of the dealers get paid on what they sell during the month. So if they have a good month going, and here comes Garrett Auto and Truck, drops off $1,000 worth of cores. If they process it in the same month, that's coming
It's
off their
coming off their
numbers.
back. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
what they do is they wait till the start of the next month and then process them. So now we're calling these guys and going, hey, give us our money. Because why do I need to pay my vendor, say I own $4,000, but I have $1,000 worth of core credits out there or returns?
Yeah.
Why would I give them $4,000 when I can give them 3 and keep the money in my bank account?
Yes.
So I ran into that several times.
And think about how much is $1,000 for these guys running shops.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm seeing guys on the chat boards sitting there going, my insurance went up $300 a month. I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, so what you have to do is start plugging the holes in your organization. You need to sit there one night with the lights off and sit there and look at your shop by yourself and relax. And I say the lights off so you could chill out, you're not looking at all the problems and say, how can I fix the problems I got going in my shop? Where am I losing money? Here's another critical topic that they flamed the shit out of me in the Shopwares group. I started charging a 3% credit card fee a year and a half, 2 years ago. What's wrong with you? You should price your shit right. You should do this. You should do that. What I did is charge 3% credit card fee. Now, if they don't want to pay it, that's no problem. Bring me a certified check or cash. Well, I don't have the money, sir. Well, it looks like you're paying a credit card fee. Okay, because some of these bills on these cars nowadays are thousands and thousands of dollars. I think sometimes our credit card fees are $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month.
Yeah.
So without that credit card fee, you think you're doing really good. Then you go to reconcile your bank account. You're like, shit. Okay.
3% off from $1,000, like it adds up really, really quickly.
Yeah. So I did that, and I plugged that hole. And I always say the same thing. And I was saying again, pump the front, fix the back, meaning fix the problems in the front and then go to the back and fix the problems. You go back and forth as a business owner, right? You work on your business, not in your business. If you're a service advisor in your business selling jobs, you're going to get sold jobs. Your customers are probably going to be happy. Your billing's going to be right. If you're in the back, you're going to get fixed cars. But most companies need to have an absentee owner and be able to run with processes, because that's why someday if you want an investment group to buy you in something like that, they don't want the owner have to be there all the time. They want the place to run by itself. Okay. So My next topic is this is going to be funny because they could not believe I paid guys $75 an hour flat rate. You hear them talking shit?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, and I told them if you want me to bet you, that's no problem. Let's put some money on the table and we'll literally do an interview, but you're going to bet me. So when you lose, you're going to pay me. Okay, we could use an escrow company or whatever. Okay, we are expensive in our business. It is what it is. Okay, uh, like I told you, I pay my guys good. My guys get health insurance, dental insurance, optical insurance. They have a retirement program. They get paid vacations. Okay, we do it all. So I I don't know what else to tell people, but is we take care of our people, so we have to charge the money to do it, and we are not for everybody.
Charge the money, but then also, to your point, make sure that you are finding the leaks where money is just going out, because there's so much money adding up in that 3% charge, is so much money adding up in the core not getting returned, not getting that $1,000 or whatever it is, and how often is that happening? And like you said, the guy that's worried about the $300 insurance rate going up, like how he could find that money in his couch seat essentially.
No, you're 100% right. And the other thing is too, these shitty business owners that think they know how to run their business, but they don't. Who always gets screwed? The flat rate tech gets screwed. Hey, I can't afford to pay you anymore. Why? If you're taking all the money and you're living in a mansion and driving a Rolls Royce and you're telling your people you can't afford it, that's one thing. But if you're out there as a shitty business owner, not wanting to listen to anybody or reach out for any help, or there's tons of information out there on just doing little things to run your business so you can afford to pay your guys. Okay. And I always tell my guys this: I never ask you for a favor. You're here to make a living. Okay. And if I'm a shitty business owner and don't do my job and I can't afford to pay you, and I'm sitting there saying, well, how can I cheat my guys out of their guarantee? Well, you're going to get slow. Sooner or later, you're going to get slow. Okay. Right now, I'm a little bit slow in my Farmington location. My guys have guarantees. Okay. I have money in where? A savings account. There's a concept, huh? Take 10% of your weekly income and just throw 10% of it in a savings account. It'll build up. Then you don't have to worry about screwing your guys about a flat rate. You cannot expect your guys to take the same risk as you do. If you're a good business owner, you make a lot more money than your employees, right? Okay.
I hope so.
Right. So my thought is, if you're a good business owner and you make a lot more than your employees, why should they take any of the risks? Why do they have to worry about coming to work and go, man, it's been slow for 2 weeks? During COVID, I asked my guys, I go, hey, what do you guys want to do? I said, I'm not going to close because we work on fire engines and stuff like that. They're like, no, we're in. So I gave everybody a huge freaking raise. I didn't raise my prices. I gave everybody a raise because I lost a service advisor. I lost two service advisors. I went and sat in the chair during COVID because I didn't know what was going to go on, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
dealt with it. And I had all my mechanics still stayed, but I got rid of them two service advisors. I took their wages. We were already spending them. I split them up and gave them all to the guys. So everybody got more money. And guess what we did? We kicked ass during COVID. I did not raise my prices on my customers, but at one point we had over 100 vehicles on our property. I told people you cannot bring any more. I have nowhere to park them. Literally. That's how bad it got, how much work we had.
That's amazing.
But as a business owner, we were raking it in. My guys were making more money. We were all having a good time. We did it. We didn't know what was going to go on with the world. I'm not going to lie to you. The first few days, we're like, holy fuck, everybody's going to die.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We all felt that way.
Right.
Yeah.
But then after a while, you kind of like, well, and all the dealers closed. Everybody closed. And a lot of our customers still went out and worked, and they kind of did stuff, fire engines and blah blah blah. We did a bunch of work.
What was that in term? They were necessary? Is that what the
Yeah, whatever they called themselves.
Essential businesses? I can't remember what it was called.
Essential
Yeah,
businesses.
yeah.
And let me switch gears now. Let's talk about the collision, okay? Because I want to make a bunch of clips. Because once again, I'm trying to get people to the point. You could be a great mechanic, but you could be a horrible businessman. You got to ask for the sale. I always tell my supervisor, you got to ask for the sale. Okay, 9 times out of 10, if you have the right customer in front of you because you did the right advertising and stuff, they're your people. They're gonna trust what you say and they're gonna do what you do. Yes, you know what I mean? What you recommend. So switching gears is with the repair business, all the repair programs, softwares have profit calculators. So you could put your guys' cost per hour in, you could switch them, right? Obviously, the lube tech is a lot more or less than right? So you could literally figure out your percentage you're making on a job. Now, this is just the front end stuff, right? This is billing your stuff right. I call QuickBooks the grinder because and most business owners don't realize what's going on here. So let me break this down. When you're using your shop management program, that's a guide, right? It's got to go through the grinder of QuickBooks to understand what's really happening. Why is that? Because up front, Shopwares doesn't know about your Edison costs. It doesn't know about a lot of your costs. It knows about your wage, obviously your guys' costs and stuff like that, right? Per hour, of tech, the parts, all that. But after you run it through QuickBooks, it's got to put your insurances, your Edison, your consumers, your insurances, your car payments. It just keeps going, right? Property taxes. So at the end, that if you have your P&L set up right, you can see what you're actually netting out of your company as a business owner. And a lot of people don't do that. They trust their accountant. I mean, how many people do you hear go, "Oh, my accountant said I just need to go buy some stuff." Like, okay, why do you need to go buy some stuff? What tax bracket are you in? Would it be easier to pay your taxes or buy new equipment? You only can have so much new equipment.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I kind of ran into that a couple of years when I bought my place in Farmington from Steve. All the equipment was an absolute disaster. So my first 2 years in business by myself, I
Buying
raised
all
the
new equipment.
prices and I bought new equipment nonstop. We spent like $150,000 within 2 years. New hoist, new tire equipment, new scan. Like I just bought everything that I thought we needed to be successful. A lot of guys can't do that. They'll go take a loan, and taking a loan's okay, but don't take too big of a loan that you can't pay it. So switching over to the collision thing, I see on all these chat collision boards and stuff like that, people get their time wasted by customers all the time doing estimates. Now, let me break this down for you. A collision estimate and a automobile or a truck estimate are two different things. Why is that? I could pull up Shopwares and say, put the VIN number in, it decodes it. I can go to the auto parts store, so you need a price on rotors, pads, boom, and that has hit estimator. It puts the labor time, puts it together. It takes me 3 minutes at the most. Okay. A body estimate is a completely different thing. I have to go to, if you have CNC or Mitchell or any of them out there, you can point and click and it blends it and stuff like that. That's an easy estimate too to give somebody you can charge. But these medium trucks and stuff like that we do at my place, they have all kinds of different parts, all kinds of different powertrains. Sometimes you have to call the, say, Cummins for the engine intercooler stuff. You have to call the dealer for this. So it could take you an hour and a half, 2 hours easy to do a truck estimate. How do I get around paying a guy to do that? I started charging for estimates. And the insurance companies are paying for the estimates. We call it admin research fee with a repair plan. It's 185. And at first they're like, well, you can't charge that. We tell everybody now, you're going to pay it. The insurance company will pay you back or you're going to pay it, but you have to pay us for our time.
You're putting that time into it, and you made this make so much sense. You put in 2 hours, or you put in that time. Like, is that just free? And then they decide not to do the work, and so you just spent all that time for free.
Yeah, because we get these people that come over here all the time. They want an estimate and they have no intention whatsoever of fixing the vehicle. They just want to collect a check because the thing's a piece of shit
Yeah.
and they wanted you to do the estimate for free. Oh, guess what happens? When you start hitting them with $185, they're not so interested.
Yeah. But then you weed out. That's not money lost. That's not time. That's saved you time.
Yeah, and we've done that. So we don't use a collision estimating program. We literally sit down and look at a job, and we pull the part prices and off the the vendors give us quotes and stuff like that, and we sit there and we go through line by line, and we add our own labor stuff, and we sit there and look at the margin. If the margin's not high enough, we don't do it. And I would tell you that guys at the dealerships and stuff like that are writers, they'd never see the profit margin. How can you give somebody a goal of how to price a job if they don't know what their pricing or what their margin's going to be? And the dealers do it. I don't know how they do it, but it doesn't seem to me like the body shops make very much money because a lot of the dealerships now are closing their body shops because they're not making any money. The insurance companies are too hard to deal with, blah, 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 blah. And they are. The insurance companies are ridiculous to deal with. They have no problem raising our rates, but to try to get money out of them to fix something is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
lot of these collision shops are going out of business. And they're getting eaten up by the big ones. The DRPs, direct repair facilities. Um, there's a 50-50 audience out there. Some people don't do it. Other people like, I need DRPs, direct repair facilities, that they don't do it. But they grade you on all these different things. And my thought is, this is just my opinion owning a collision shop, but everybody says there's a Walton effect. Sam Walton, when he went out, one of the big things he did, he bought 1 million pairs of flip flops and he sold them for 50 cents more than he paid for them, and he made $10 million, we'll say. I don't remember how the numbers worked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. That works for him when
Yep.
you have a million
A
pairs of
billion.
flip flops sitting there, right?
Yep.
So it's not the same as you having the DRP shop where the credit or the uh, State Farm or Geico or Progressive sending you 20 cars. If your margin, you're losing money on these jobs, you know what's happening? You're going out of business faster. They're taking money out of your bank account faster.
Well, because like that flip flops doesn't have labor in somebody literally like you don't go to Walmart and buy the flip flop and then they manufacture them right there. They're not
Right,
building them right there. They're already on the shelves. They were already built. They didn't. They bought it at a cost that was already built in.
right. So it's just, I just, when I went to Management Success, they put a big thing on a thing, and it forever sticks in my mind of a guy sitting on a bucket. And they're like, you're better off sitting on a bucket than losing money on a job. Put it this way, if you're losing money on a job, that means you're literally taking money out of your bank account to do a job for a customer or for an insurance company. So just say if you take $80 out of your bank account, you had $100, you take $80 out to do a job because you don't know how to price it. Your bank account at the end of the day after working is lower than when you started. That's not business.
You're busy. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Do you want to be busy or do you want to be busy and make money being busy? And that's the thing with these people. They don't get it. And I'm not here to flame anybody because I am not God's gift to business. But I'm successful at it because I work at it. And I always tell people, they're like, how do you do what you do? I say, I put 110% of effort in 110% of the time. I never give up. You've already dealt with me for what, a year? You're probably like, Jesus Christ, does this guy ever sleep? He texts me at 10 o'clock at night, 11. Last night, I'm like, answer me. You're like, bro, I'm eating dinner.
I'm eating dinner. And then I was off to basketball. So like literally in between sitting out, I'm answering your text back.
Yeah, exactly. But like I always tell Lincoln, and this is I tell Lincoln, I answer my phone 24/7 when I'm up. Why? That's my paycheck calling.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. As a business owner, you are on commission. What does that mean? If you do a really good job, you can make money. You could keep your house. You could pay your employees. You could pay your rent or pay your building payment. Okay. A lot of people don't sit there and look at stuff that way. They're like, well, I'm a business owner. I can do what the hell I want. No, most of the time your business controls you. Now, I don't think that you should work 150 hours a week as a business owner either, even though you do. Just because you're not at your business, you're still thinking about your business. I started taking Fridays off. In the summer, I take Fridays off. I go up to my house on the lake and I chill out. I talk to my people if they need me, but the way I structured my business here's what I'm going to tell everybody. Now, this is going to be another thing people are going to like bullshit. My two key guys, I gave them each 10% of the company they worked in. Motor City Truck Collision, Jim Gray became a vice president. He owns 10% of the company. I gifted him 10% of the company. Okay. That means he gets 10% of the profits. Jason Spencer at Garrett Auto and Truck is a 10% owner of Garrett Auto and Truck Service and gets 10% of the profits. Okay. So if I wasn't successful, could I give 10% of my companies away? I gave them away.
Just gave them away.
Gave them away to these guys and said, you are key guys here. I expect you to run the shop like I would. This is now partly your money. I said, nobody watches your money like you watch your money. I said, so now you guys are in charge. When I'm not there, you're in charge. Now, the problem I had was my service advisors and shit still wanted to call me. And I had a hell of a time telling them. They would call me and say, hey, we got this going on. I say, okay. And I would sit there and they'd say, well, what do you think? I said, I don't. I said, Jason's in charge. Go ask Jason. If you don't like what he has to say, tough shit. He may make some mistakes, but you know what? He's got to learn. But Jason's worked with me for 17 years, and me and him think a lot alike. So 9 times out of 10, he does the same exact thing I would have. Jim Gray was a little bit older. Hardy had been a manager for a long time, so he never really called me. He just deals with the problem, and he said, I'll tell you how fucked up it was Monday when you get here. But my thought was, as a business owner, I'm going to go away. I'm going to unplug. These guys are getting 10%. Every quarter, these guys get a freaking check, a profit sharing check. And it ain't nothing to sneeze at. Okay. These guys may make well upwards of 6 figures. Now, people are going to say you're full of shit. They don't do that. They do it. Okay. And like I said, anybody who wants to put their money where their mouth is, we'll have a bet and we'll sit down and we'll give them a range they do. And we'll put some pay stubs on the table. I'm completely okay with that.
I was gonna say you have the receipts.
Yeah, as long as my guys, I don't think it's proper for me to go around and tell everybody what my guys make, but we can give them a range.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the truth. And guess what else they have? They have company vehicles. I pay for their diesel fuel. They both have. Jim Gray's got a 2018 three-quarter ton high country four-wheel drive truck with a diesel in it. Jason Spencer's got a 2023 AT4 with a diesel in it. Both bought and paid for. They drive every day. Okay. I pay their insurance. Well, I don't pay it. We all pay their insurance, right? We're all partners. They all have
Yeah.
company vehicles. Okay. So tell me how to run a business, everybody on TikTok. How many of your people get 10% of the company, become vice presidents of a repair shop, and have company vehicles that the fuel's paid for? So these people could talk all this shit. I'm okay with that. But the bottom line is I take care of my people, I pay everybody well, and I charge well. People cannot come to work for free. This whole flat rate thing, it was a way to basically, when you're slow, control your costs, going out the money, you're sitting there paying hourly people when you don't have no work. They cannot always take the bad with your business. So,
They didn't sign up to be a business owner.
bottom line,
They're working for somebody for a reason.
right? They don't want the stress, right? That's the bottom line. I mean, you deal with a lot of different companies. Give me your input on some of these people, the way they run their companies when you start asking them about their numbers and stuff like that.
Well, and this is a very common thing. It's not just within the body shop or in the auto shops and the collision shop owners. This is a very common thing across all of business where people think like, okay, I'm paying my guy $20 an hour. That's $20 an hour. They don't think about the loaded costs. I've encountered a lot of businesses, and you were talking about the management program, how it doesn't show profit. And there's so many business owners that think if they show their people the profit, they show people the net that they are like showing them their underwear drawer, or it's like something top secret. And to your point, how do your people make money for you if they don't see those numbers? If they don't like go make more money, but I can't tell you how much, and I can't tell you when we get there either.
Right. My guys all pretty much see the numbers and they have a goal. The service advisors have a number they should hit every month. When they do, they hit bonus. And it's a tiered bonus that goes up and up and up. Okay. It's just that's the way it is. I
Yeah.
mean, I worked for people that wouldn't really share. And I just decided that I'm going to be so successful that I'm going to share. And here's another thing. My business hours are 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, no holidays. I pay the guys for the holidays. Most repair shops think if you keep your guys there an extra couple hours, that you can turn more labor. They get tired. They're people. And as they get older, as flat rate techs get older, yes, they have more experience, but they slow down. Their bodies break down. This shit is hard.
Yeah.
So you should be looking at your top techs going, okay, how's this guy going to be in the office selling shit? Because he's going to get old and he spent his life here working for me in my business. I'm not going to discard him like he's a piece of trash. I'm going to say, okay, Bob, you've done this for 25 years. You have all the experience. I'm going to move you into being a service advisor. Is that what you want to do? Well, no, I'm going to retire. Great. But yes, I could be a service advisor. Okay. It's a little bit challenging right now with the older gentlemen that you have working for you that are really not computer savvy and you expect them to send links and stuff like that, but they could be taught.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what? People, you cannot leave your business and walk out over a pile of broken bodies that you've caused, that you've taken out of people's lives. They're spending their lives with you. You have to treat them with respect. Now, I'm not saying I don't yell at people because I yell at people all the time. If you're being an asshole, I tell you you're being an asshole.
As evidence of the video that everybody got pissed off about.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is with that guy, I told the guy, listen, we're going to get past this, but I'm not going to say it's okay because you're being a bitch and you lied to me and you sold yourself at something you're not.
Yeah.
What is it? I seen it the other day on TikTok where the dog, the Chihuahua, basically said when you lie in your application, it could be a problem. And he was like, had to fight a freaking tiger. And it's a Chihuahua. That's kind of the same
That's
situation.
hilarious. That's a great analogy.
That's kind of the same type of thing. You get these guys, they lie to get they risk it for the biscuit. We get in there, we know they're a fraud right away. Guys that have been in our business know right away if somebody's full of shit within the first 25 minutes they're working in your shop.
Absolutely.
So in any business, I'm sure.
Any business. I'd have people that said they did all this XYZ and they sound good in the interview, and then you bring them on and you can tell right away. I was in sales for my whole career in sales leadership, and there'd be making sales calls. That's you gotta call your customers. You gotta pick up the phone, and there'd be people that would tell me they'd list off all their calls they made. They told me all these calls they made, but like I would just go listen to them. I'd have them. I'd set dates where people would come in if they weren't performing very well. They'd come into my office, and I wanted to help them. I wanted to empower them. I wanted if there's something happening that you're not doing well, let's sit down and make some calls. And it would be within 5 seconds. I'd be like, you haven't made a call in like 3 months. at minimum, if you've ever made a call, like, because you're stumbling, you're bumbling, you're like, you don't have a thing that you're saying. If you're making calls, just like if you're out there working, you're getting that experience.
No, I agree with you. And you know, the other thing is too, I'll go back to that saying I say, ask for the sale. A lot of people don't believe when what they're selling. If you do not believe 100% in what you're selling, you're not going to be a good salesman. And let me go ahead and tell you, the other day I told Phil, my foreign service advisor, I said, you sound really confident in the phone. He said, you know why? He says, when our guys tell us something, tell me something, write it up, I have complete confidence that it's going to be right. Now, with that being said, we screw up shit. I've written some pretty big checks, but I look at the customer. Here's a story, and Jason's going to laugh. I have a customer that's been with me for 25 years, and we did a front timing cover on his truck and several other things. The next day after he picked it up, I got a call that afternoon. He said, Kevin? I'm like, yeah. He's like, my guy's in Lansing, and there's a extension through my radiator. It blew up the fan. The fan went upwards through the hood, and the radiator's leaking all over. I said, well, fuck. And he's like, yeah, right. He's not mad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I said, well, get it towed back here. So I go over to Jason and Spencer. I go, hey, did you lose an extension? I didn't lose a fucking extension. This is when he's really young. I said, you sure? Yeah, I'm fucking sure. I said, okay. Terry Sweeney comes pulling in behind the tow truck, hands me an extension. It says JS on it. I go, hey, dickhead, is this yours? Yeah. So I put that truck back together. He wasn't the owner back then. I put that truck back together, but we are all human. We're going to screw shit up. But once again, if you're successful enough as a shop, you could write that $5,000 check.
Yeah.
If you're not successful because your labor rate's not right, you're not marking up parts, and you screw up something, how do you cover a job that you're not getting paid on? If your profit margin is only in your labor and you're not making money on your parts and your bank account's reading E, what are you going to do? Go borrow money to fix somebody's truck you screwed up? Call your insurance company? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a domino effect. I mean, let's face facts here. A profitable business, a healthy business can sustain quite a bit of stuff. Problems, right? I
Yeah.
mean, how many shops went out of business when COVID hit?
It's a good question.
A lot of businesses, I know a
Yeah.
lot of
A
small
lot.
businesses went out. They're hanging on by a shoestring. It was always the same thing. Well, the owner doesn't think we should do this. The owner says we shouldn't charge for this. He gave Mrs. Smith, it was only only a brake light bulb, so we just gave it away. He told the flat rate tech, take care of it. She's a good customer. If anything, you should walk up and head your flat tech. If you want to give discounts when you have a flat guy, pull the money out of your pocket and go, hey, Bob, you're on flat rate, but you did that for me. Here's $20. You can't expect these guys, because you're being generous, to give their time away.
Yeah. And maybe that'll curb you from doing it because you got to pull out money out of your own pocket and give it to them, right? Like if that's what you have to do, then you have to do it.
I was talking to the gentleman that runs the Jaded Mechanic podcast. He said, I've literally walked up to my service advisor and said, you missed that. You need to pull the money out of your pocket and pay me. I get paid by what I do, and you just screwed this up, so pull the money out of your pocket and pay me. I said, good for you.
Hell yeah.
You know what else I do? I charge 50% down on a job that's over $5,000. Why do I do that? For two reasons. Cash flow, number one, when I'm buying these parts, they're going to get paid for, right? And number two, you kind of know your customer. If they say, well, I don't have that money. If you don't have half the job, in a week later, you're not going to have the other half. You don't have any of it. And this is all things I've learned over the years. Trials, I don't give credit accounts. I have two customers that have had accounts with me for like
Credit accounts.
20 years.
Yeah.
I tell people now, I'm not a bank.
Ah,
Can I get a credit account? No. If you want a credit account, that means you don't have no money. You want to use my money to run your business. Not
Yep.
happening.
Yep.
Or everybody has a corporate credit card. Well, corporate says they don't think we should have to pay 3%. Well, corporate can run their business. We had a granite company that I pretty much kicked to the curb. He came in and started giving my service advisor about hard time about paying 3%. Can't believe he did it. You know what them fuckers were doing? They were charging 4% to their customers.
That is crazy.
And how he got caught is he's sitting there bitching at my service advisor, and his driver walked in, and he's bitching. I can't believe I'm paying 3% for using a credit card. And his driver's like, "Hey man, we charge 4." And he looked around, turned around, looked at him like, "What? You just ratted me out."
That is fucking hilarious. That is so funny. What we charge for?
Yeah. So I'm like, whatever.